it's cool, man. Obviously, you've had such a great career over the last few years as a wrestler, as well as entertainer. I think on the broadest spectrum, doing your own channel, What Culture as well. One thing that I love about you is you're not only doing the What Culture stuff, the wrestling stuff, but you're also doing the motivation stuff on your own channel. And I do want to talk a little bit about that because I get to work with a lot of young people who deal with mental health issues and their own challenges. And one thing that comes up quite a lot is success and what that means to them. They look at Simon Miller and they think, professional wrestler, YouTube personality, because you forget, obviously, now for young people, becoming a YouTuber full time is a thing. When we were growing up, like it was, a movie star, whatever. Now, if you're Simon Miller, that is like, which is amazing that you've been able to do that, and congratulations. But it's like, whoa, holy shit, that's amazing. So, obviously, long way around there. But how do you define success? What does it mean to you as a person?
Well, firstly, that's very kind, everything you just said. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It's very kind. To me, success it's so difficult to quantify because everything you've just said, I don't necessarily think I see from my own point of view. My girlfriend especially would tell you this. She would say, you need to appreciate what you've done more. But I don't. And I think that kind of taps into this craziness about what success is, right? Because it's different for everybody. I've got a friend of mine and his only goal in life was to settle down and have 2 kids. And he did that relatively young and he's been content ever since. To me, that sounds like the most terrifying thing ever because I wanted to go out there, as you mentioned, and try and do 72,000 things and, just see what would happen. And that's why it's so difficult to people. That's why I always say, success really has to come from the attempt to do something. That should be the idea of success. Of course, if you become Brad Pitt and you smash it, then absolutely pat yourself on the back. But as long as you try to become Brad Pitt or whatever your icon, your hero is, that's what matters. Because then when you are 80, 90 years old, if you're lucky enough to get there, you can look back and think to yourself, well, at least I gave it a go. And that's all you can do. That's the only real thing you have in your power is to actually open your door, walk outside and go and get involved in whatever the hell it is you want to get involved with. And that kind of goes the other way as well. Even if it doesn't pan out like you were expecting, or it doesn't become successful in terms of the literal sense of the word, that's all right. I don't believe in this, you quit. No, you didn't quit. You gave something a go. You realized it wasn't for you or it wasn't going in the direction you wanted. So you took a step back and now you're going to try something else. That's just, if you have a list of things, it's just as powerful to put a tick next to it than it is cross something out. Because as long as you know in here, that's all that matters. And that's where success lives as well. Your success could be, you just mentioned mental health. Your success could literally just be going outside for the day because you had agoraphobia. Do you know what I mean? And you've got over it. What a successful thing that is to do. But I am, at the same time, I am a very ambitious person. I do want to, throw myself into all these projects. And really, again, it's because I don't want to regret anything. And I realize how fleeting this stuff can be. Like you said, the YouTube stuff, I feel so privileged and blessed to do that. But it takes, one phone call, 24 hours when the whole system comes tumbling down. And it's all gone in an instant because there's millions of people like me. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate it and I don't like it, but I think it's really important to be as humble and as self-aware as you can, which again ties into success. Let's say my success is I want to get to an average of 1 million views a day. Well, you can get there, but then in a year's time, maybe it's gone back down to 100,000 views a day. You just don't know, which is why you got to try and live day to day and really kind of put your successes, as long as you've got a roof over your head and you're healthy and you've got some food you can put in your mouth. You've really just got to sort of get to the end of each day and go, all right, sweet. We smashed it as hard as we could. Let's see what happens tomorrow.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think that's a really important message because, again, people do the goalposts move throughout somebody's life. And one of the things I'm really interested with you is because obviously your love of wrestling took you to a wrestling ring, which is fantastic. Yeah. But obviously, you've gone through a lot of self-improvement and a lot of motivation with regards to your own, self-image and stuff. You've built yourself up. You've become this motivator with regards to fitness, but also, you work every day to become fitter and become healthier. So did your love of wrestling and the desire to get into wrestling, because I know you started that from a young age, did that spur on your personal fitness journey and that kind of side of things?
I mean, in a roundabout way, it did, yeah. Because the reason I wanted to go to the gym is because I was a massive Triple H fan as a kid. and he looked like he'd just fallen off a comic book. So I was like, well, I want to look like him. He looks great. But that almost just served as a catalyst, because when I went to the gym, and it sounds so sad, but it's true. I remember I did one bicep curl, and my brain just went, yeah, let's do this forever. I just loved it. Like, and I always say, when people say to me, Miller, how do you motivate yourself to go to the gym? I say to them, well, what's your favorite thing in the world to do? And they'll go to a theme park. I was like, imagine you could go to a theme park every day. I'm lucky. I lucked out in that sense. It's not hard to go and do something you enjoy. And I love lifting weights. Not going to lie, recently, the global pandemic has taught me what the exception is. Do not like working out in my house in a tight space with crappy weights that I've got. But, we do what we can. But yeah, so wrestling did, would I have gone to the gym without having that first inspiration from a guy that was a wrestler? I don't know. But then ever since then, the two have kind of been intrinsically linked. It just it provides me with motivation looking at what those guys do, but I also just happen to love the product as well. So it's almost like a tennis game. But now, I sort of have this big bag of passions, and both of them are absolutely in it.
That's awesome, man. And I think that's great that you were able to take your reputation from What Culture and then do a channel that's obviously had thousands of subscribers now, based around you're talking about movies and stuff, and you're talking about wrestling as well, a little bit as well, and music, and I guess was that something you were nervous about when you kind of started your own channel? Because I remember you said in an interview with Chris Van Vliet that YouTube is about having a niche, isn't it? It's about having that niche there. So obviously it's great that you can do something you love, but was there any nerves in that transition?
There was. Actually, I had my YouTube channel before I joined What Culture, but it was very different then. It's when I used to do all this character stuff because I'm a child. Again, inspired by wrestling. I would go and do a bunch of interviews with people as a character I'd made up because I thought it was funny, like Ali G, Sacha Baron Cohen. But yeah, when I actually decided to kind of make it more about me, the channel, I was really intimidated by it, especially because I decided I wanted to talk about mental health. Like, I was really passionate about it, and I donate to causes, like most people do. But I thought, what else can I do? Is there anything that I have? And I thought, well, you have a YouTube channel, you have a small platform, but a platform all the same. Like, even if one person was affected by it, and I was worried about that simply because. I don't mean this negatively. I just mean this factually. There is a lot of cynicism on the internet. And I didn't want to think anybody, he's doing it for views and stuff like that. Do I want views? Of course I do. Views are the currency on YouTube. It's what you're going for. And the bigger the audience you have, the more creative you can be. But that wasn't the sole reason for doing it. It was like, well, I want to talk about it. I enjoy talking about it, for lack of a better term. It kind of ties into my own personal history. I'll just give it a go. But no, that is intimidating because you don't know how people are going to respond to it. You mentioned how most sort of super successful YouTube channels are a niche, like, What Culture Wrestling is about wrestling. And then it's different for people like PewDiePie, but they've exploded out of the water. But usually it's those building blocks. But I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. I just want to talk about stuff that I want to talk about. And if people want to watch it, great. If they don't want to watch, great. Like I say, if the world did fall apart tomorrow and I had to rely on that, I probably would double down. I probably would. But until then, I was like, no, I want to talk about this stuff. And if one person watches it, awesome. If 20,000 people watch it, awesome. Obviously, I'm happier when 20,000 people watch it because I'm still a human being at the end of the day. And we have these instinctual reactions within us. But it was just the most important thing to me was just to talk about it. But yeah, it was intimidating. No two ways about it, which is kind of ironic. You're doing mental health vlogs and you're intimidated about doing it. It sums it up, right? It absolutely sums it up.
And I wanted to ask you about the biggest challenges you faced because obviously, people look at you a certain way and they go, oh, Simon's, been able to work as a wrestler all over the country. You even had, before lockdown, you even had an opportunity to work in the US. And I know we'll talk about the death match coming up shortly. They look at you and they go, wow, you've done everything. So tell me about, the challenges in your own mind, the bad days you have. I know there was a video you posted recently about motivation. You said that, fortunately, you don't have too many bad days, but on those days where you are struggling, on those days where you do get up and you're struggling for motivation, what does that for you? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it your partner that you mentioned? Where does your motivation come from outside of wrestling and outside of being an entertainer?
Hard-headedness.
Yeah.
Which is true in the sense that, the thing that would motivate me the most is if someone said to me, Miller, you'll never be able to do that. I'd be like, man, I'll prove you wrong. And that's kind of the same for me. Like when I wake up and I don't necessarily feel 100%, I will, and this works for me. I would certainly not suggest this for lots of people, but I found out this actually helps me. It's just to push myself through it and say, well, you're going to do it anyway. It doesn't work all the time, but it certainly works 99% of the time. But yeah, I've had loads of struggles. Like, in the YouTube game, I was doing the YouTube stuff since like 2010. And I'm not going to give you any clues, but you can find videos on the internet with like 8, 9 views, which are terrible, done by me at the turn of the decade, where, yeah, I'm just trying. But again, that was imperative to when an opportunity did come up to make sure I had the experience. And really, if you go back and watch some of my early What Culture videos, they are not what I would call good. I would call them bad. Very, very bad. But the same with the wrestling, right? I debuted in April 2018, and July 2018, I was in a hospital and I absolutely destroyed my shoulder, broken clavicle. There's so many injuries. I can't even remember now. My deltoid was all screwed. My, what the hell is it called? Whatever it's called, I've forgotten the name. But that was awful. Like, I'd done 5 matches. That wasn't great, obviously, but I was excited about what could happen. And then I found myself sitting at home for 8 months, which also took the gym out of the equation, which, again, going back to what helps me on bad days, working out is my ultimate balancer. When I'm in the gym, nothing else matters because I'm so focused. And really, you just have to accept that some days are going to suck. And that's what I did when I hurt my shoulder. After I'd kind of tried to just push through it mentally like I usually do, I accepted, nope, that's not the time. Now the time is for rest, relaxation, and switching off, which I'm not good at doing. But I realized that was the quickest way to get back to what I did want to be doing. And it was the same with the YouTube thing. I remember there was one month, especially when I went out on my own, which was kind of around about 2016. And I remember one month I earned so little money, I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? But actually, talking about family, I called my dad and I said, I don't know what to do. And he just said, keep going. He said, hold your nerve. That was the phrase that really got me. He said, hold your nerve and see what happens. And I did do that. And yeah, it's not like, it doesn't make me any better, worse, or anybody else. But I stuck with it because I knew that's what I wanted. And because I knew that's what I wanted and I wasn't willing to sacrifice, like I was offered jobs in the interim period of that. And I did take one and I quit after the first week because no, I don't want this. It's not, life is short and time is fleeting. I don't want to get distracted. And so I went back to doing it and just chipping away and trying to improve myself and understanding that, success, I don't use the word success, but achievements aren't a right. You have to put in all the work and you kind of just have to hope that everything comes together. I mean, there are incredibly talented people out there that never really make it to where they want to go. And it was real tough at times, real tough, right? It just wore me out, wore me down. But again, I knew what I wanted, and going back to the start of this hard-headedness, I was just like, I'm going to do it one way or the other until I get kicked out of my house, and then maybe I'll think again. And I know that could go away as well. I always like to say that I know that could go well, but for now, I'll enjoy it as much as I can.